Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IoT For All podcast. I'm Ryan Chacon, and on this episode, we are going to get into some really great insights into edge computing and industrial IoT forecast for 2023. And I'll be talking with Jim White, the CTO of IOTech. They are an edge computing and management software company. There's a ton of value here, so if you are watching this on YouTube, we truly appreciate a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit that bell icon so you get the latest episodes as soon as they are out. But all right, before we get into it, just a quick word from our sponsor, Leverage. Any of you out there are looking to enter the fast-growing and profitable IoT market, but don't know where to start? Check out our sponsor, Leverage. Leverage's IoT Solutions Development Platform provides everything you need to create turnkey IoT products that you can white label and resell under your own brand. To learn more, go to iotchangeseverything.com. That's iotchangeseverything.com. And without further ado, please enjoy this episode of the IoT For All podcast. Welcome, Jim, to the IoT For All podcast. Thanks for being here this week.
Ryan, thanks for having us. Really a pleasure to be with you. And thanks for allowing us to talk with your guests.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's kick this off by having you give a quick introduction about yourself and the company that you're with.
Sure. So I am the CTO of IOTech Systems. It's a company based out of the UK. As you can probably tell by my accent, I am not British. I'm trying to do my best, but our company is actually a global company focused on IoT and Edge software. My background is one where I came from Dell Computing, where we were building IoT Edge gateways, and I was the guy tapped to help co-found an open source project that's known as EdgeX Foundry. So the leading open source edge software provider today, and EdgeX Foundry became a big part of IoTech Systems. And so that's what attracted me to IoTech, and that's been my business now for the last 5 years.
Fantastic. Very exciting conversation that I know you and I have planned here. And we're going to be talking about a couple of different areas that are really interesting and kind of been very popular as of late for a lot of our audience. One is the edge computing world, and the other is industrial IoT for a bit. I wanted to kind of set the stage for that by asking you to kind of give me a quick overview from your perspective of the current state of edge computing and the current state of industrial IoT. If you want to recap kind of 2022 and what kind of happened then, that's fantastic. But just kind of high level it for our audience so we can kind of set the stage that way.
Yeah, sure can, Ryan. So I think a lot of complexity in those questions. I always have to begin any conversation I have with almost any customer or partner or what have you, define edge for me, because everybody's edge is a little bit different.
Right.
So from an IoTech perspective, we are largely focused on industrial. In fact, that's where we got our start, is trying to provide what we called industrial IoT solutions to companies, which meant really trying to focus on connect things in industrial spaces into the enterprise. That has changed a bit. There's still a large part of our customer base, a large part of the people we talk to that are industrial based today. But we're seeing more and more needs emerge from this, what people are generally calling edge. And the reason we usually have to talk a little bit about what is your edge versus my edge, there's different types, right? You've got edge computing from the standpoint of a telco, where you and I are carrying around our cell phones, and we're coming close to environments where that phone can be used as a device to alert people on, that I'm present and I could use some information, all the way down to, a home edge, where we're talking about things that are happening inside your own home space. Industrial edge, which is an extension of IoT. So all that is coming to play. And the reason I say things have started to change a little bit is we're getting into environments now, which even from an IoTech perspective, we didn't perceive originally that these were going to be large edge players.
Sure.
A couple of examples, you look at something like retail environment, retail store, and they need IoT space. Well, no, they don't necessarily need IoT, but they are starting to bring together all sorts of different sensing environment equipment into things like the point of sale, where you and I do our checkout.
Right.
And we don't think of that as industrial, right? That's not a sensor on some sort of factory line, but lo and behold, that is now very valuable information that those retailers need to make all sorts of decisions and to help customers. So edge is expanding in a lot of different ways. So I'm not sure if I completely answered your question, but took my best shot.
No, that's great. Fantastic. Yeah, it's a very exciting space. A lot is happening there. Edge computing has become even more popular to power a lot of these solutions, help you drive down costs, improve kind of performance across the board. So as we're now into 2023 and we're kind of kicking things off, how do you kind of view things going into this year? And I guess what we were hoping to do today is talk about kind of what the forecast looks like when it comes to edge computing and the industrial space. Whether that's together or a little bit separate is fine. But I wanted to kind of talk through a number of different kind of points that I know that are on your mind for us to go through. But if you want to maybe high level that for us and talk about what the forecast kind of looks like.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I've become infamous over some of the predictions I've made over the last few years. Some of them I think are turning true, others are not, are taking time. Um, so what I see in the marketplace right now, first of all, a lot of things, as we all have seen in almost all of our daily and professional lives, have changed over the last few years with COVID, right? It has impacted a lot of the ways we see ourselves, see our environment, see our businesses. That is changing things considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Where a few years ago we were all going to an office and we were looking to provide IoT and edge capability in office, not so much anymore. But maybe we need it more now in our personal space. So there are changes in where we live, occupy our time, and need space. So that impacts things. And then there are a lot of other exciting things going on, just the way that the technology is always being applied to things like environmental concerns. Right? We are now very much concerned about saving our planet and saving resources. I'm not going to say that those weren't important 2 years ago, but I think it's become more front and center as our world gets hotter, as our world gets more resource constrained.
Right.
And edge and IoT computing can really help in those spaces. So the impact of the last few years, economically, socially, economically, environmentally, all those things are bringing some changes about in our world that are putting IoT and edge capabilities front and center to help solve those problems.
Right. What do you think about kind of the view and perception people have had about what edge computing is, how it works, and what the value can provide to what companies really need? So it sounds like a lot of
Mm,
companies really want complete solutions, right? So
yeah.
how is kind of edge playing into that, or how is things transitioning from maybe the way edge was thought about and being utilized or purchased into what really people need and want, and how it's kind of working?
Great question. And we've seen this in the evolution of our business. When we were starting, um, uh, faced a lot of early adopters who were looking at what I call the pieces and parts, right? Help me connect to this sensor. Help me get the data to this cloud. So they were early adopters. They were figuring out a lot of it themselves. Fast forward now a few years, they're done with that. The way I write about it and talk about it is we are done playing games. Time
Hmm.
to get real, time to get serious here. I don't want pieces and parts. What I want is a solution. We started to see an evolution of that here in the last couple of years, but now it's getting real serious where companies are moving or transitioning from POCs and pilots, right, to learn and to experiment and figure out what's working. And now they're coming to companies like ours, say, pilot, POC. I may want to do that just to prove something out, but I need to do that very, very quickly because in 12 months, I'm being asked to deliver solutions that are going to either go to our customers or go to our employees or what have you. And these things have to work. So they've gotten out of the playtime, and now it is go time. And that's, I think, changing the marketplace considerably. It's going to
Hmm.
put some pressure on the
Yep.
marketplace. We're going to see some companies come and go.
Right.
Bigger companies are going to make acquisitions, things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. What about kind of when it comes to the edge, about what I guess as it relates to security as well?
Mhm.
So, that's becoming a pretty important topic. So like OT edge security has become, something real. What do you think about that as we're kind of looking at this year?
Yeah. So I used to joke with my going into customers. I would talk about obviously security is a concern. It's going to be a concern with everybody. Anything that has to do with the information flow today. And I would ask companies, so tell me, what are your security concerns? Tell me what you're trying to protect against. And I would joke because it was actually an answer I got from one of the CEOs I talked to. I don't exactly know what security is all about in the space. All I do know is I want you to keep me off the cover of the Wall Street Journal. So security to them was protect me from making big mistakes, but I don't know what those potential threats or mistakes are.
Okay.
That's also changing, right? There's still that concern. Don't get me wrong. I don't think any CEO wants to be on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. And certainly we've seen in the press reports of people coming in and attacking things at the weakest points. But we have to go a little bit farther today. We actually have to have answers. And importantly, I, as a CTO in a company like IOTech that's providing solutions, we have to start to really understand the real threats.
Right.
Not just say, yeah, we're going to try and help you keep off the Wall Street Journal. We have to know where those weakest links are and try to provide solutions into that space. So companies are getting more wise. Leaders are becoming more wise about what some of those threats are. But now it's becoming more specific, and they need products that address those specific needs.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So kind of shifting topics here for a second, if we're talking, but still talking about kind of this forecast, how have hyperscalers really kind of played a role into this in your mind? Kind of like what disruption have they brought to the market? And just kind of overall from your perspective there.
To be blunt, they haven't. They haven't really played yet, and they haven't really been impactful yet. Some of them, when we talk about, let's talk about the cloud providers to be specific, and we can identify them by name. It's not like everybody doesn't know them, right? The Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world. They took a very cloud-centric approach. That is, we want all the data. We want your data, and we want to help you facilitate to get it all up into our cloud. And they didn't really understand OT very well.
Okay.
And then companies who bought into that approach started to look at it, and they start to look at their bills and realize this is not going to work, right? My Amazon bill of transporting all the edge data to the cloud and then working on it from there is not going to scale because it's just an immense bill. And it didn't really add a lot of value. I think that's got to change, and I think it is changing. We're seeing where the cloud providers, in particular, as a cross section of the hyperscalers, are looking at this saying, okay, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to enter this space very much like we'll look at some of the hyperscalers and what their business was, and then how they adapted to something like mobile technology or cloud SaaS or PaaS type of technologies. They entered it into a big way, trying to learn what it is they can provide as value, where it is they need to hand things off to you, but where they actually provided value. They're starting to learn those lessons. They're learning the lessons that they're not OT providers, right? They don't know operational technology, but there's a place they can play because they do know scale. And this is a big scale problem. Edge computing is a big scale problem. So they know scale. How can they apply what they do best into these environments and bring in the right expertise to help them where they maybe not are specialists, and by the way, probably don't belong. Not all of your data belongs in the cloud from the edge. It makes no sense to shovel it up into the cloud. So they're learning.
Okay, great. What about AI and ML? How do you think that's like from a forecast standpoint? Because obviously that's a big topic and how that needs to be in there. But does everything, I guess, need that?
Yeah, great question. Again, another kind of a joke and aside I have with people is, AI and ML is part of the solution. I don't know what the problem is, but we're going to make it part of the solution. That was kind of our approach, as AI and ML became big. And oh my gosh, it is impactful, right? It can do so many things. What we're starting to learn is you don't necessarily need that level of sophistication, that level of compute and analytics capability to do some really important, critical, and return on investment things at the edge. Simple rules engines, simple little analytics capability can return some big investments. So if you're going to say, I need AI/ML, know where and how that's applied, especially when we're talking about edge computing. And then think about that a little bit, because it does put some extra requirements on you. You need some heavy duty compute. So I see an evolution in AI and ML in that there are specific use cases, there are specific environments where AI and ML is going to be very important in edge computing. Example, visual inference at the edge, right? All these edge compute use cases have cameras all over everything. Being able to detect what's going on at the edge and get an understanding of that from an image usually takes AI and ML. But to determine that something is a little bit out of alignment, your sensors can do a lot of that, and then you need simple if then else conditions that, hey, this value is not in range. let's do something about that. That's not AI/ML. That's what I learned in my first days of undergraduate computing way back when, and that doesn't cost me the type of funding I need to put together an AI/ML model, let alone the type of compute resources I need
Right.
at the edge. So apply it with some understanding and some constraints, and figure out what it is you really need and how to apply it. Just don't say
Mhm.
we need AI/ML at the edge.
Right. Okay, fantastic. Last thing I want to ask you, and this is just something I don't know if a lot of people know about, but when we're talking about um, Kubernetes, we haven't actually really
Mhm.
talked about that much at all, but it's a pretty popular term around a lot of tech groups and developer groups. I wanted to talk about kind of how that plays into all of this, and it's very popular tool for people to be using. And but just from your thoughts, how does this kind of play into what we're talking about here from a forecast standpoint?
Yeah, right. So um, once you've developed some sort of solution for your edge, the next question is, how do we get it out to the edge? How do we deploy, orchestrate, manage it, monitor it? How do we know it's up and running? Kubernetes has been fantastic in the enterprise. Let's even make it more general. Cloud native computing, CNCF community has been fantastic at getting those kinds of problems solved in the enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Deploy, orchestrate, manage.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the cloud and the enterprise is not the edge. We are resource constrained in many ways. We have needs that are not the same as the enterprise. For example, the enterprise never has to connect a Modbus sensor. The enterprise doesn't have to have dedicated, communication security channels that say the edge does. So a Kubernetes solution is applying an enterprise technology and trying to bring that down the edge. Can that work in some cases? Maybe. Yep. Take a look at it, but don't try to apply enterprise technology wholesale without really looking at some of your requirements. And that's the
Sure.
problem that we've seen in IoTech is it's okay to want to bring your enterprise technology and thoughts into the edge to see if they might apply, but don't expect them to solve all needs. There
Right.
are unique needs in the orchestration, deployment, management that Kubernetes or CNCF in general
Hmm.
don't handle. Now that's going to change, right?
Okay.
The CNCF community, just like we talked about the clouds and
Right.
how
Right.
they're
Right.
adapting, same thing's going to happen, right? The
Okay.
CNCF community is a huge group of very brilliant minds, and they're trying to figure it out. And we see a lot of things in that space. There's microcates, there's K3S, there's a lot of technology in this space. In my opinion, they haven't hit the sweet spot yet, but they're working towards it. So we're going to see some things help us in this space. But as a user, as somebody who's applying technology, be aware that the enterprise tools that you have don't always apply, and you're going to probably have to look at some alternatives at the same time.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Great. Fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. Last thing I wanted to ask you before we go is for audience out there who, I guess two things I want to ask you. One is for audience out there who wants to learn more about what you all have going on at IoTech and just kind of generally follow up, maybe learn more about some of these topics. What's the best way they can engage, reach out, any that kind of thing like that?
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity, Ryan. So iotechsys.com.
Okay.
Always visit a company like ours website. We provide a lot of information out there. We're part of LF Edge, Linux Foundation Edge Computing, and the EdgeX Foundry. So from an open
Nice.
source participation, we're very active in those communities, and so we actually find that a lot of people find us through those
Yep.
sources as well. So we'd love to chat with folks on those channels as well. So
Cool.
lfedge.org,
Okay.
edgexfoundry.org. Send me
Awesome.
a note. Love to hear from you.
Fantastic. And lastly, before I let you go, what are you most excited about going into this year? I mean, we talked about a lot of forecast stuff on the edge industrial side, but just generally speaking, something we didn't touch on, anything that people should really keep their eye out for.
Yeah, it's I'm in the UK right now. I'm based in the US, but in the UK right now. Boy, isn't it nice that we can actually finally get a chance to meet face to face, talk to clients face to face.
Mhm.
There's an element of that that's wonderful, but it short cycles a lot of our work as well. I'm hoping to see acceleration in this market space, not just because we meet in person, but because I think people are excited to finally get back and
Sure.
into a groove which feels a little bit more normal than what we've experienced over the last 2 years.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I was just at CES and, there's, I think it said about 115,000 people attended. It was, people just loved being back in person even more. It's fence, CES might not be the best gauge because it's a huge thing, but I'm curious to see how more of the smaller vertical specific and more niche events come back over this year as opposed to last year. So I agree with you. It's exciting.
Zoom has been our godsend for the last couple of years, but I think we could all use a less you're still muted and more of let me shake your hand.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. Yeah, you get a lot done. I think it's a different kind of relationship too. So you get to develop.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
Jim, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and look forward to getting this out to our audience.
Ryan, appreciate your time, and thanks for allowing us to speak with you and your audience.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching that episode of the IoT For All podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please click the thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to hit the bell notification so you get the latest episodes as soon as they become available. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.